What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another gun guide. This is the series where I go into great detail with all of the stats of every one of the weapons in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. In today's episode, we're going to be moving to the second SMG, and this is the GKS. Starting it off, as always, let's have a look at the damage profile, and as you can see here, we've got a lot of damage numbers. The GKS deals 32, 28, 27, 24, or 21 damage depending on your range, which means it's always going to be a 5, 6, 7, or 8 shot kill in core game modes, and a 1 to 2 shot kill in hardcore. Keep in mind, this is the only SMG in the game currently that doesn't have a 9 shot kill range. It's an 8 shot kill maximum. And this is mainly due to the rate of fire, which is 645 rounds per minute, which is a little bit on the slow side. It is the slowest in the SMG category. This means that our statistical minimum time to kill is going to be 372 milliseconds in the very short 5-shot kill range that this has, and then it will drop all the way off to 651 milliseconds at longer ranges, which, just like with the MX-9, is ridiculously slow. This is like double the time to kill of most of the other guns in this game. Even the time to kill at point blank range, which we will see the range in a little bit, this is a very small range, at 372 milliseconds, this is not really all that competitive with the other guns in the game, and most of your gunfights will be within the 465 millisecond range, and within this range, you are outclassed by basically every single gun in this game by a noticeable margin. As a result, even if you're playing to the strengths of the GKS in core game modes in its current state, you are going to run into a ton of situations where you shoot first and on target without missing a shot, and you still get absolutely annihilated by the enemy. As for the GKS against armor, within 0 to 37.5 meters, it will take 1 extra shot to kill an armor user. However, beyond that 37.5 meters, it's now going to take you 2 shots to kill an armor user. Moving on to ranges, as you can see here, the 5-shot kill range with the GKS is very short at just 3 meters, so basically point blank range. Then it's going to be a 6-shot kill from 3 meters all the way out to 37.5 meters. Keep in mind, I do have that one mark there that's at approximately 20 meters. That is where it drops off from a 28 damage to a 27 damage, which has no effect on core game modes, but you'll see that this damage range is affected for hardcore. Now from 37.5 meters to 50 meters, this is where it's going to be a 7-shot kill, and beyond 50 meters, it's going to drop off to an 8-shot kill. So like I said earlier, the vast majority of your gunfights in core modes with the GKS should be falling within the 6-shot kill range. As for long barrel, we get a 60% increase to all of our range values aside from our very short 3-meter 5-shot kill range. And with suppressor, we reduce all of our ranges, including that 5-shot kill range, by 20%. As for hardcore, we get a 1-shot kill range of 20 meters, which is quite respectable for SMGs. It is the second best in the SMG category. It's just beat by a little bit by the MX-9. And with long barrel, once again, we can increase that by 60%, which is really nice. And with suppressor, that value will be decreased by 20%. So I will say in hardcore game modes, the GKS is actually a very solid choice. This brings us to headshots, and as you can see, we get a standard headshot multiplier of 1.1, which gives us a headshot damage profile of 35, 30, 29, 26, 23. And with this, there are a few ranges where if you hit several headshots mixed in with body shots, it will end up helping and reducing the number of shots to kill. But having said that, it's generally not really all that practical to be hitting like 4 headshots mixed in with a couple body shots. And therefore, in core game modes at least, generally speaking, headshots are not worth it at all with the GKS. But in hardcore, between 20 meters and 37.5 meters, if you hit a headshot, you will be getting a 1-shot kill, whereas without a headshot, that will be a 2-shot kill range. So in hardcore, depending on the situation, you may want to line that shot up for the head. This brings us to hipfire, and the GKS has the same hipfire spread as the Spitfire, which is slightly better than all of the other SMGs. As for idle sway, as you can see here, there is a very small amount of idle sway with the GKS, but as far as SMGs go, this is really good in the idle sway department. We see a similar story with the recoil. This is very accurate for an SMG. You can see there is very little recoil, some side-to-side sway here and there, but generally speaking, recoil shouldn't be much of an issue for you. And this is even without the grip attachment. Having a look at the first grip attachment, you can see that it's pretty much the same as without the first grip attachment. Honestly, I didn't really notice too much difference between having no grip and grip equipped. However, when you add the second grip attachment, this is where you really see that decrease to the recoil, and there is practically no recoil with the second grip. This brings us to magazine capacity, and the GKS has a pretty decent magazine capacity, especially considering the fact that it has a bit of a slower fire rate, so it'll last a bit longer for you. This is 38 rounds with 114 total starting ammo, and with extended mags, we can bump this all the way up to 56 rounds with 168 total starting ammo. Our reload add time with the GKS is 1.32 seconds, which is very solid, and there's no option to use fast mags or hybrid mags on this gun. Moving on to handling and mobility, our aim down sight time with the GKS is one of the faster ones in the SMG category at 220 milliseconds, whereas our sprint out time is standard for SMGs at 250 milliseconds, although with Gung Ho, we can reduce that down to 150 milliseconds, or if we are using Gung Ho and we break our sprint by aiming down sight first, then we will completely eliminate that sprint out time. As for our movement speed, this is standard for SMGs at 100%, and our aim down sight strafe speed is also standard and very fast at 80%. So that's pretty much it for the important stats for the GKS. However, with the GKS, we do have an operator mod that fundamentally changes the gun. So let's go through that. This is the quad shot operator mod, and what this does is it turns it into a 4-round burst, and it also increases the range values. So first up, let's have a look at the burst and how it affects your time to kill and everything. We do have the exact same damage profile, although you won't have to worry about those lower damages because the range is increased so much, but we'll look at that in just a second here. Our rate of fire within the burst is going to be 1,200 rounds per minute, which is insanely fast. However, we do have a 150 millisecond burst delay between each one of these bursts. Also, even at point blank range where we have that 5-shot kill range, we still are unable to get a 1 burst kill with the quad shot, even if every bullet hits the head. And what this means is it's always going to take you at least 2 bursts to kill. This means our statistical minimum time to kill at point blank range is going to be 350 milliseconds. Then within our 6-shot kill range is going to be 400 milliseconds. At 7 shots to kill, it will be 450 milliseconds. And finally, in the 8-shot kill range, assuming every single bullet from 2 bursts will hit, it's going to be a 500 millisecond time to kill. So we do actually see a slight improvement in the time to kill values for the GKS with the quad shot operator mod. However, these time to kill values are still not very competitive when you compare it to basically any one of the assault rifles in the game. As for our ranges with the quad shot, as you can see here, it actually doubles all of our range values, although it didn't seem to have an effect on our 5-shot kill range. And what this means is you won't be able to realistically find a point where it drops off to a 7-shot kill, and basically every gunfight you find with the GKS with the quad shot operator mod will be 6 shots to kill. This even holds true with the suppressor. If you put the suppressor on here, you can see at about 60 meters or so, it will drop off to a 7-shot kill, but there are very few practical lines of sight in this game that are even close to 60 meters. As for our accuracy with the quad shot, as you can see here, it is very accurate. There is some recoil though, so at really long ranges, you may be missing a few shots within the burst, but generally speaking, if you're playing close to mid-range with this, recoil should be no issue for you whatsoever with the quad shot. Now, before we get into a couple example classes, I'm going to go over the attachments for the GKS. For optics, generally speaking, I have no issue whatsoever with the iron sight. I think it's one of the best iron sights in the entire game, and therefore I almost never run an optic on the GKS, but if I were to do so, it would most likely just be a reflex sight. As for the other attachments, when it comes to grip, I generally won't run one single grip attachment on the GKS because you saw with the recoil test, it didn't really make that much of a difference. However, running both of the grip attachments can be helpful because not only does it reduce your recoil by a noticeable amount, it also reduces the flinch in a gunfight, which is extremely helpful because there is no room for error with the GKS. Another great attachment that I really like using is Quick Draw. It just allows me to snap on the target as fast as possible with this gun, and I feel like you need to shave off all the time that you possibly can within a gunfight because your time to kill is so slow, and therefore you can make up for some of that by snapping on a target a little bit faster. For long barrel is an excellent choice with this gun. However, long barrel 2, if you guys saw the video I made about long barrel 2 is essentially useless. I was unable to find any difference whatsoever in performance with the long barrel 2 attachment. It says that your bullet is supposed to hit faster, but I did the detailed testing frame by frame with this, and it takes exactly the same amount of time for your shots to hit, and therefore I would not recommend using long barrel 2 at all with the GKS, but one long barrel attachment is definitely a good choice. As for extended mags, this is also an excellent choice. It gives you a very, very good magazine at 56 rounds and also a lot of total starting ammo, so you don't necessarily have to run scavenger if you're running extended mags. This just leaves us with suppressor, and suppressor can be a good choice with the GKS, although if I use it, I tend to combine it with a long barrel attachment because a long barrel attachment will override the range reduction that you get with the suppressor, and therefore it will still keep the vast majority of your gunfights within 6 shots to kill. So finally, let's have a look at a couple great example classes I have for you guys with the GKS. This first one is really designed to help you win those face-to-face gunfights as often as possible, although, like I said at the beginning, keep in mind your time to kill is going to be quite slow, and you'll likely still be losing some gunfights where it's face-to-face and you hit the first shot. So with this one, we're using Quick Draw so we can snap on a target as fast as possible. We're using both of those grip attachments to reduce that flinch so that we don't miss any of our shots, hopefully, or at least that's the plan. And finally, we're using extended mags, which just gives us a lot of total starting ammo, and it allows us to challenge multiple enemies one after another without having to get a reload. For our gear, we're going to be using the stim shot. We've got special issue equipment here, and for our perks, we're using my 2 crutches, gung ho, so we get that really fast sprint out time, as well as dead silence, so I can't hear my own footsteps, and neither can the enemies. As for the second class setup, this one is designed for stealth. With this, obviously we're using a suppressor. Once again, we are using quick draw, and we're also using long barrel to counteract the negative effect that suppressor has on your range. For our secondary, we do have a launcher so we can shoot enemy UAVs down as fast as possible because we aren't actually running Ghost on this class, even though it is a stealth class, and that's simply because Ghost is a terrible perk in its current state in this game. For our gear, we're running acoustic sensor so we know what's going on around us once we flank in towards the enemy spawn. Once again, we are using that special issue equipment, and for our perks, we're going to be running scavenger so we can go on longer streaks without needing to pick up a gun that might not have a suppressor on it. And also, once again, we've got dead silence as well as gung ho. So with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the GKS SMG. As always, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think about the GKS? Personally, I think this gun just isn't really all that good in core game modes. The raw time to kill potential is just too slow when you compare it to most of the other guns in this game, and therefore I run into a lot of frustrating situations where I shoot first and on target and still lose. In hardcore, on the other hand, the GKS is a very good gun. It's actually one of my favorite guns to use in hardcore game modes, and therefore, generally speaking, I don't touch the GKS in core modes, but I will use it quite a bit if I'm ever playing hardcore. As always, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Gun Guides, we've now covered quite a few of the guns in this game. I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.